welcome back to my lovely HP community and the 5D Collective. We're gonna keep chit chatting about our whole selves as always. So, those who mindfully live and love, we are spiritual some, others you're mindful, and that's straightforward. We all have a whole self. That's why that spirituality simplified episode today was trying to give you the gist of a spiritual process person who has inner child adult, no charges, okay? So when you are a securely attached individual, you'll know it because you don't have envy, jealousy, spite, you don't have revenge, you don't have wanting to shame, blame, fault, revenge people, any of that. So when things go wrong in life, you find out that you have the capacity to stand on your own 2 feet, your 2 hands, and you're okay as you grow older to understand that 24 hours all people are busy. So you really have this capacity to be a person who works with the thoughts and emotions in the absence of doing, I forgave, I did something special. Okay, so of course we all have moments where we're going to share about those balancing scales, and obviously age group doesn't matter. So when you're a teenager and you're growing up, you learn how to mature. So my tone was definitely in a teenager tone. As I got to become a young adult, I got to get to young adult tone, and then as I got to continue that tone of adulthood equanimity, I got to continue choosing it by choice because it's great to be empowered. And so when things go wrong in life, you find out that you can consistently maintain integrity, harmony, love, and that which is essentially, for me, direct communication, God, Akash, source, faith, but also just being mindfully in the now. In the absence of being upset about it, that is thanks to Marcus Aurelius. Long story short, but you also find out who others are. Okay, so with heart, mind, body harmonized, for those of us who are mindfully aware, accountable, and regulating, when life takes a turn, we don't feel that it went wrong per se. We might feel that it is basically something called a dead end. Well, not really. It's more of I got given something that won't be changing, right? And so it's not really going to be the end of the world, but it might be a bit the end of the world. It all depends. So some people, they talk about their experiences with the word post-traumatic growth. Others of us, we talk about our experiences as, life sends you life, and you deal with the unknowns, unexpected, unwanteds with open-heartedness and the flow state, those main modules of the inner growth mindset program. Okay, so here is where our lovely Sadhguru contributes to our topic for today, as he shares, when things go wrong in life, that is when it shows who you are. And when things go well, he says, everyone can pretend to be fantastic. There's also other quotes, one of which I don't have the book with me, but he says, when life, you're enjoying to do it, even if you don't get what you want the first time around, if it presents itself again, but it's a different way, you're still going to keep doing it. You're going to enjoy it. That's when you're having the capacity to be a flexible, adaptive, coherent, again, energized and stable brain. That's for my regular listeners. So, those acronyms, they're from Dr. Daniel Siegel. And integration comes thanks to putting mindfulness. The 3 pillars of the mind is what mindfulness does. So it allows integration. I also know of Mind Sight because of my courses with Dr. Daniel Siegel. And Mind Sight involves you also sifting that which comes up. Okay, so that's normal for any of us who are mindfully living. That's why there's different words, but they all represent, for somebody who's doing it, the same concept. For the ones who have a bit more of a struggle, they're first learning how to regulate and expand their window tolerance to window welcome, and once they're ready to do more depth, if they want, they continue to add with mindset and personal development and so on and so forth. So the other part, another Sadhguru quote, for most people, love means you must do what I want. He says, no, love means they can do what they want and we still love them. As you become the mature version of yourself, safe haven seeker base, this is what becomes a truth, not only in words, but also in feeling. And so you might be upset that somebody won't show up for you, but you don't take away that you'll show up for them. Okay, so you don't have a scale. And this is why I was saying age can matter, but then again, we're in an age and an era, where people that are younger than I can learn from smart therapists, and they can learn already how to do what some of us did organically, which is to move into mature mental, emotion, physical activity. Okay, so with that being said, let me just use story time. What happens when you have someone who treated you, quote unquote, like a piece of shit from your perspective? I have a facade friend. He's not a facade because he's fake friend, but he's a facade because he's a Cusco type person. So it's an adaptive child. Some people, they don't become their grown-up versions. They stay those adaptive, the child part that has a visual or a version of what an adult should look like and what the world should look like, and so their child parts stay disowned, their fragments stay disowned, okay, all that. So they're a flag without a flag post, which is why actually you learn how they just wave left and right. That's why I called my friend, by the way, a hypocrite. And he said, "You're a hypocrite." I said, "No, I'm not." And then I said, "Wait, why am I a hypocrite?" And it's because for him, the fact that I expand all concepts, so bringing sciences and spirituality together, just one example, is hypocrisy, because he doesn't know how to bring more than one topic together. I know why. It's because his left mode is ruling, and it's like the person says, excuse me, you're confusing science and spirituality. I'm not, but there's our adaptive child. So people who have an in and out group, they have answers to everything. They don't allow others to have thoughts and feelings that are expressed differently. Anyone? Okay, so some will say, yeah, but then everybody wants to say everything. There's flat earthers for that reason. No, not really. Flat earthers, they came together because they wanted a group and they believe in conspiracies. So we have plenty of people that believe in a lot of different things. Okay, and that's why they came together. And something like social media, not really. Social media just gives us eyes to know of all these different groups. Okay, so you can continue blaming, which is what people who are not expanding consciousness in the moment. The inner critic, outer critic is a shame, blame, fault, revenge little tactic. So the way people word things makes me aware if they're an empowered voice or if they're a limited voice that is going to stand, though, as someone who has knowledge to offer for sure. But they're not going to expand it. They're just giving us that one data point. So their contribution is still valid and valuable. Okay, so my facade friend, very valuable to me. I love him to death. He loves me, and we have fun, and we hang out. What did I learn? I learned that, well, one, he lied. Two, he didn't take ownership for his lie. 3, for 5 years, I didn't talk to him. But when he came around, because he was in a shithole, I was there, and he taught me how not to disengage from any relationship just because of clown, asshole-ish behavior. So we're sitting at the table. We have 2 days of very serious talk. The first day, I just talked to him about a bunch of things. I share some very important things, thinking that it would make a difference. And I say thinking because eventually I found out Cuscos don't hear well. They distort shit according to what they think you are. And so it's actually a complete waste of breath and depth of share that went in the trash can because Maria was unseen. The depth of the experiences that were shared were not taken and valued and stored and then given back when the time came to exchange it in the very exact way, so they were not heard. When someone's not mindfully listening, it's because they don't know how to be mindfully self-aware, accountable, and regulate and become their inner child adult, which is a functional adult, and shut their Cusco brain up because, that like and dislike of your own, but that's the part of where, excuse me, you're confusing shit. So people who don't go and become functional adults with a person like Terry Real, heal their disowned parts, their shadow, okay, so that's why basically you find out that these people don't have a flag post, so they're basically going to be dictating how the wind dictates, so you just watch how they work with the wind and you will learn how they flow, which isn't a flow, but it's a flow to them. Okay, so you don't need to uncover a mask. They're going to show you the mask they are. Then they're going to put the mask that they think you are on you, and you're going to know what you are to them. Like my friend, I know exactly what I am to my friend. So I also learned exactly what he didn't hear about what I shared because he repeated it to me in a way that wasn't in any way, shape, or form what I told him. And that's why by this second interaction, nothing wrong had happened per se in the second one. It was just we were having a conversation, and I just learned that people don't hear you, and then the attachment trauma information lovely therapist informed me of, they are not a grown-up version of their brain, mind, and embodiment, you're going to have a person who's twisting shit all over the place. So they don't know how to tend to their authentic needs, which involves, first of all, being a person who can be in a room as their whole self, but it's also because they don't allow you to be your whole self. Oh, their likes and dislikes rule them, and their 14-month-old rules them, and all their past experiences rule them, and every single one of those generalizations, stereotypes rule them. So they're not going to be in a room with a differentiated person. They're going to be in a room with whatever it is that, again, their generalizations, their past has been able, and then your relationship. And so that's why it's a secure connection. But if you're empowered, you're going to find out that so one, Cusco's, they have a mask, but it's their teenager version is how we're going to equate it. So if they can, they'll help you. If they don't want to, they won't. It's depends on what you will have learned. It's by person. It's not a generalized statement. You don't do that. So my friend, he can totally be there for me. At times he has been, at other times he hasn't. I am consistently and have been consistently there when I can. And that's exactly why you don't hold anybody rigidly anywhere, because that's only for kids who don't know that grown-up life gets busy. Okay, so securely attached people understand and don't take things personally. And you also know, because you're creating that emotional, mental, and physical independence, that you are loved and that others love you too. And that those who don't have the capacity to see you in the way of a functional adult is not done on purpose, because they lack the self-awareness, accountability, and regulation skills, and they don't want to be a functional adult. They don't believe in the trauma information. They don't believe in going to therapy. They don't believe in any of anything. And so again, I mean, really, that's where it's at. So let me think. Another story that I was going to share. Well, I think the sharing is good enough, because the reality is, if you're a 5D frequency person, meaning that you embody that which is forgiveness and love, you understand this. So you don't have a scale. I'll use my BFFF for example. When we addressed the cheating thing, because she kissed my boyfriend, and my boyfriend and I, we went out with her and her boyfriend, so we couples who go out. I was fine with not having to do anything, because there was no uneven scale, because that's not how I work. I don't do tit for tat. I understood that there were situations that we were still looking at, and our age, we're young, and so this is that part of why, for a solo poly person, for example, at this point in my lovely journey, is very easy to address it, because I find that those who want to tell me that monogamy and monoamorous individuals truly love is not about if you're a monoamorous monogamous person or not. It's actually about you and the other person. Also, it doesn't mean that a person knows what they want, like my teenage boyfriend. Also, age does matter, so it's not because I think that everyone has to be polyamorous. Not at all. Actually, I would say that everyone wants to learn, first of all, to become their own securely attached 1-year-old. Otherwise, they don't know love at all. And 3-year-old. Otherwise, you're going to be looking for somebody to, give you a pat on the back, and that's not love at all. That's something, let's not even go there. So for me, trust didn't diminish with my boyfriend as he cheated, but definitely our relationship didn't grow, because we weren't growing. We were repeating things, but it wasn't something bad. When I look at it, it always made sense, because we chose together. So my BFF's boyfriend, he was not okay with there not being a tit for tat. And so he decided how we were going to even out the scales so that we could continue going out, which was they shared a kiss, so we're going to share a kiss. And I just found it ridiculous. We laughed in each other's faces. We left. We didn't do it there. He said, okay, we're just going to go off together. And then we chit-chatted, him and I said, these two, what the fuck? What's wrong with them? Like, how did it even, cross their mind? And that's because two people were emotionally mature enough to understand this is ridiculous. It's a silly thing. But like I said, for me, there was no need to even out anything. There's not this they didn't do anything wrong to me, to the extent of it feeling imbalanced. To this person, they had an ego that wanted a balance. See, the ego is the blind one, because the heart, even if it's sad, and again, and that's mentality too. So there's mentality. It's a subjective experience. It's a subjective way. I'm going to say a person who does tit for tat is an individual who is not able to process that which has taken place in a way of having their own inner world take precedence and priority and to be enough. It's not good or bad, but it means you don't have that capacity to let something go with the understanding that things can happen. But that's just a side note. At the end of the day, again, I find it humorous that people don't know how to decide to show up for themselves and then for others, and to allow yourself to understand it's subjective, but also that, well, anyways, if you're consistent, you're not posing a lot of questions when it comes time to process thoughts and emotions. That's why you don't have laundry. It's things take place, you're in your prefrontal, and that is exactly why that fancy lady, when she says it's dangerous to do no emotions in her, it makes me think of my teenage friends who would say, you have no emotions, and I'd say, no, I'm just not dramatic. And to this day, there are those who think that I pretend, and that having depth of emotional experiences has to mean you have tragedy, has to mean that you're in pain. Most people, as a teenager, you will describe those words, but also, again, our brain is working a certain way. Your adolescent brain works a certain way. I remember when I learned to get into my prefrontal cortex, because I would go from left to right. Tara Brock, she has a video where she talks about our waves. I'm feeling the waves of the... And I remember, I'm like, I don't need to do this back and forth. And I think I talked about it with T1. And there wasn't any real feedback, because T1, like a bunch of other people, were like, but you can't do that. You're not Jesus. You're not Buddha. And I'm like, what does that mean? They were human. Why am I hearing about Jesus and Buddha? And it's about me being able to use my emotional mental plane my way. Okay, so the individuals who prefer their storylines and their quotes, this is why it's a teenage version of a person, because to me, you can pick it up and work with it, but also it is a technical / mechanical, so now I have words to explain to you something that I was already doing as a kid and a young adult. But also the 12 to 24, so your adolescent brain has a different way that it is made. By the time the physiological woman is 25, her executive decision-making function areas are finished developing. For physiological men, the biology, it's 27. That means something to how your biochemistry and how you're working. So the multifaceted nature and there's another word that I'm thinking about. It's not complex, but you are a system that is made of different, it's not going to come. And anyways, long story short, it's not one thing. Neuroscience, neurobiology, the good mental health professionals, they all know enough to explain something way better than I bring to you what I can and how I can, and that's where interpersonal neurobiology is really great. My course, I need to finish that one up, but I got through the half of it, and it's amazing to know how the brain, mind, and embodiment of you work. All of the other courses with Dr. Dan, but also courses with NICABM, all about attachment trauma. You're an optimizing system. Your biology continues to want to heal. That's why your body wants to be in its birthright of the restorative embodiment. And your brain wants to be absent, trauma-free. So it continues to try to timestamp on the hippocampus, that which took place, which is why that fear receptor is important. And while, yes, they're still conducting research to see a lot, what they are finding is that you're able to heal from trauma, and you're not stuck in being a self that is going to be fragmented or invisible or cut off from the body. Those are the different attachment categories. But it's only if a person cares about their well-being that they will actually go and start tending to it. And then it's only if they want to, after EMDR, child parts work, somatic, sensory motor, do more depth emotion, will they say yes, seriously at least. So again, when things show up in life, those who have a heart, mind, body that are harmonized, they consistently show up, because that's what secure attachment and integrated brain, and again, a person who knows how to do life, however it is they got here, where I just shared with you with the information or without. They're all inner child adults, and when we meet others, if they're an inner child adult, great. If they're just an inner child with an adaptive, it's something that we won't really be keeping on a stick. You learn to know what the flag is going to do, and that's about it. And then you learn who have the flag posts. So we'll be back with more. I hope you enjoyed. Like, share, and subscribe. And if you know others who love to do spiritual self-help, mindful living, and loving practices and hear about mystic life, 5D way, enlightenment life, self-empowered life, send them my way. It's all about bliss, delight, and how to have emotions, not laundry, Zen master. So to really do Zen and be fun with it, because I love to love, and my baby, he loves to laugh, and he loves to love, and he loves to live, and he loves to learn, and he loves to not cast stones. No characterological judgments, no distinctions, none of that yucky stuff. They know how to regulate their nervous system, and they use their entire brain so that we can have intelligence in the room and have a good time. So we'll be back.